Hey everybody, I'm base coating two baits here. One is a thin body, thin square bill. The other is a standard 2.5. They're for two different people. This one is going to be a pink belly blue ice craw, and this one is going to be a very dark, hopefully beautiful peacock cichlid, Amazon peacock. So yeah, let's okay, so we are going to I've got 6 swim baits that I'm going to get started on, and I might do a video on one of these, I'm not sure. Got a lot going on. I've got some other stuff that I've got to get dressed up and out the door. But in the meantime, we're using a standard white, and then I shot a standard pearl Createx, and then, just to be super flashy, I shot some of this Dr. PH, but Dr. Phil, Dr. PH Martin, PH period, since 1934. I guess the company's either been around a long time or this color has 1R silver. So I like it. It's a little pricey, but it seems like it's going to cover and go a long way. I want to get a quick heat set on what I've done because there's 3 layers on here. Seems like a lot of the times when I'm heat setting, if I've got a good base coat on, I don't want to screw that up. This is going to be one of those, like, I really need to concentrate on getting, this is going to fall. I don't want it to fall. Let's try do it like this, maybe. There we go. It's about as tight as I can get it. It will still move a little bit for me. They get loose over a period of time. They get a little bit loose. So right now we're going to be focusing on this pink belly blue ice craw. I'm going to be using fluorescent hot pink, fluorescent blue, a little bit of opaque sky blue, and some very deep blue, black accents, and obviously the crawl pattern on top of that. I always work light to dark when I can, and it's kind of a toss-up between whether the pink is going to be lighter than the blue, but I'm going to put the pink belly on first, and it should work out fine. We're just going to give this belly a good coat. And you can see the fade. When you just shoot directly at the base, the fade usually comes up just underneath the lateral line, and that's perfect for this. It even gives us, when we shoot it straight on, it even gives us a little bit of a gill outline on that gill plate, which is somewhat natural, even though hot pink really isn't natural. Well, we've got some blue loaded up, and I'm going to dump that pink out. I'm going to shoot the whole thing, well, at least the top of the bait, with sky blue. That's going to be the lightest blue that we work with on this particular bait. I'm going to shoot a couple of little spots randomly of this fluorescent blue, not too much. I don't want to, it's probably too much. Get it a little bit darker. And this can be really randomized, because then when we're going to come do, maybe get the whole head and the face, we're going to come back with this deep blue and finish the job. Get the gunk out. Always got to get that gunk out, folks. So it's kind of an unplanned video, but I want to kind of load up for the holiday season, because the holidays are always notoriously super busy with family and friends and stuff. So I may not be able to physically be available for the amount of uploads that I really like to have on this channel. So to compensate, I guess we can leave that little sky blue right there. That looks pretty good. To compensate, I want to try and throw in some extra spray sessions for you guys, because if you're like me, kind of need some downtime to drift away from everybody because things get crowded and whatnot. So hopefully this is your chill time, downtime, learning about stuff that you guys like to do. I love learning from you guys as well. I think we're going to be doing a shout out here shortly too, because I get a lot of pictures from you guys, and I really love, keep those pictures coming. Get them to my Facebook. You can get them to my email at jenkravasi@jekyllbaits.com. Messenger. You can tweet them to me at jenkravasi. You can also Instagram me at Jekyll424. Jekyll424. I don't remember my own name. Alright, so we've got the base on here. We're going to go ahead and heat set this. And then pretty much it's just CRAW. We're going to do the CRAW stenciling on this and some random splatter. This is a fairly simple pattern. I would put it on a number 3 probably for a scale of 1 to 10. The next thing that we're going to do is load up this black, turn our pressure back. We're running right around 35-40. Going to bring the pressure back down to about 10. And we're going to do this in a traditional CRAW pattern. So it's not going to be like the Imperial CRAW that I've been doing. So I just need to come over here and get one more stencil, because it's a 2-piece process for me. Make sure that it's coming out well, and it is. Good. First thing that we do is start by putting a collar on here. Now, I've done CRAW patterns before, and I've probably done one in the last year with this particular stencil, but if you're new to the channel, or you wanted a little bit different of a pattern incentive, you can pretty much make this work with anything, as long as you use a little bit of a base coat and you can see the black CRAW stenciling against your colors. I'm only going to put 2 of these on here and do a little bit of shading, so it's okay if you get a little bit of overspray. And then the rest of this is pretty easy as well. I'm going to lay that on its side. That's one thing that's really good about these helping hands. And take the other stencil, and I like to make the edge trail down just a little bit more. Now you've got 2 lines extended down, and I wrap the collar around the eye area so that when we come back and do this stencil, and I've got this area cut out pretty well to where we can probably, let's get this little eye area in. There we go. And now we can bring this up. I'll just lay that against here. And remember, you want to be spraying onto the stencil itself so that you're basically just getting the overspray and the mist onto this bait. We'll do the same thing here. And then come back down right there. Now, if you really want to trick it out, you can do just a little bit of shading. If you can hit that line well enough, you can do a little bit of extra shading just to kind of pull that down into your pink area. You don't want to do too much, then we want to get those eyes. I'm going to flip the bait over since I have another lure on the other helping hands. I could probably take it off, but it works out pretty easy this way as well. And we're laying that back down. Dab off any of this because we're going to be flipping it over using the other side. Same thing with this. Just dab it onto that paper towel, or if you have something that's fairly absorbent, or even a piece of paper if you're using that. So now we're using the other side of the stencil. We've just flipped this over. And we're just bringing the line from the top down the side. That's why you always want to start with the top. Start with that back, and then you can just bring the lines over. It's much easier to pick up the line and run it down that way. Get this little eye area in. Okay. And then just wherever your line left off, you're going to bring this bait right. Segment right there. And then do the same thing. Maybe bring this down just a little bit. Kind of get a little bit of shading in there, and then hit that last segment so that when you pick up the bait, this is what you're seeing. Very defined, and these colors are very contrasting. It's almost like blue and red. So blues and oranges and blues and reds are extremely contrasty, and they almost look like they are moving a little bit even when they're not. So this is going to be a very obnoxiously bright color in the water. It's an awesome target for walleye and pike and northern toothy critters, so we are going to put a second coat on this. It'll also target bass really, really well, especially in the pre-spawn in the springtime and stained water. So if it were me, I'd be throwing this in stained rivers, places like the Potomac, the Tennessee River, all sorts of dirty water, or lakes, impoundments that are dirty. The other thing we got to do is put that little eye shading in. Come on. There we go. And you notice that I pulled this off here to make sure we weren't splattering anything, because a lot of times when you first start this, after you've cleared it, you get a little after splatter. So I just put that on my hand, and then just a little more shading on the head. Not too much, but just enough. And then you can bring this down a little bit. Now we need to flip this over, and we're going to do the underside on the belly, do these segments. We're going to make a few more lines because the belly segment always has a tendency to be a little bit shorter of a segment. So we'll just line this up here. And why? I must have a little tiny piece of paint in there. That's all right. You want to try and get these as even as you can when you're working on that belly. And then maybe do one more right at the collar, at the neck, or but you can do that like that. You really don't need that. Now, one thing we do need to do is continue those segment lines onto our side. So if you can see, there's a little bit of area where these don't meet up specifically. But what we can do is bring that up with our, there we go. Just extend that to where you can really see it touching. Same with that neck. Okay, and now we've got a more realistic segment area that's going to go all the way. I've definitely got a clog in this. Sorry, guys. We'll flip it around. A lot of times I could probably increase the pressure and just blow that out, but it's not going to be too nuisance. That I don't even know if that's a word. I'm making stuff up at this point. Too much of a hassle. There we go. Just speak plain English, Jen. Let's see, there we go. Now you can get that extended into that side, which is what you want. And now you have a much more believable segment on the belly. And you can bring that a step further if you really want to, and you can just kind of add in a few little shading details. You see how it's sprayed there, and it's alright. It's still the shading. You can go ahead and add just a little hint of shading, make that look a little bit more natural. Now that's a step we haven't done with you guys before. I do it on a lot of my stuff that I'm, not doing high production on. If I really want to slow it down, I'll add just a little bit of shading. Really bring that to life. So tone can be everything, especially on a bait that's not a natural match the hatch color. So the last thing I want to do on this, I have been having a lot of fun with this lately. Just add a few little details, and I see a lot of the guys doing this. I know Jonas Summer does it, but just to kind of accent in some areas, just a little bit of oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. Come on now, clear that thing out. So you get just a little bit more detail into this. You can do, and it really brings out this pattern, I think, pretty well. And it's a great alternative to a splatter pattern. If you want to get a little bit more technical with your bait, just grab a stencil, and get a few more pieces in. That really gives you a cool image on this. Bring that up to the light, you can kind of see that 3D effect. Now we've recently done the 3D effect on that orange Imperial that we did the other day. We'll use a couple of areas, and you just use your thumb and forefinger to lay this down. And that really brings out the the colors in this bait, I think. So there you go. It's a little bit of extra detail in that. Now we're ready for some eyes, and we're going to get some clear coat. All right, here we go. We've got the bill cleaned up. Those beautiful Jetson eyes on there. Some real cool shading on the belly on these CRAW segments. That is it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by. It's always great company. Happy casting. Ta-da!